Let's try this. Mic check. Holy shit. We're back. Good to see y'all here. Boba Bretts, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Appreciate it, man. And Vidley, holy shit. Look at you. Hey, Dave. Hi, Vidley. Good to see y'all. Daniel, good to see you, man. Remy, Krakar, what's up, dude? Yeah, so if you don't know, if you have to tune in for the first time, I recently moved back from Australia to Germany, so I'm back in my trusted home studio, which is it's fucking great because I finally have a real mic, a real mic again, and my nice lighting and sound setup and everything. So this is fantastic, although it has taken me a while to get acclimated again to everything here. 6 months goes quick. Yeah, it was actually 7 months, man. It was 7 months in Australia. I'm gonna put on. Let's see, what is it that we always listen to when I wanted some peace and quiet? I always wonder. It was this. There you go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was gone for 7 months in Australia with my entire family and kids, and now I am back working again. Unfortunately, my boring day job, and but hopefully that means that now I can stream more regularly again, because I'm much more flexible here with everything else in place. My kids at school and everything. In Australia, we were basically hanging out as a family all day, which is obviously amazing and a huge privilege. But it also meant that streaming was a little bit more challenging. I was in a small apartment, and I had kids jumping around, and yeah. But overall, it's summer in Eve, so I think it was a good time to take a 2-3 week break. I think I took a 3-week break. Not sure. But what I've missed in the few weeks is, it looks like I missed one major patch, and I wouldn't say I was missing it, Bob. Would be my quote to that. But also, there's a dev blog about the value of FOMO that we're going to talk about today, and obviously I didn't do any Oz reports where we talked about which items are going up and down in the market and how the patch is going. And also what we really haven't done on stream is look at the global Plex market and see what the long-term effects were now, because last time we talked, I think it was just implemented, and it was we saw some first week, I think, impacts, but overall it's interesting now to see how the global Plex market impacted everything. I mean, if you look at it overall, if I look at the markets overall, I see cheap extractors, cheap injectors, and I see cheaper Plex. So overall, I think it's fair to say that this game got a whole lot more affordable in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and overall, I think minerals are still lagging behind a little bit. I saw that CCP made another little tweak to Pyrite and trying to push that Pyrite price down. And you guys tell me how that what you guys think about that. All these little tweaks that CCP is doing. Whether you let me know whether you like that, the little adjustments, or whether you would rather them be bolder or not do anything at all and let the market fend for itself. So I'm curious to hear from you guys about your feedback on these little patches that CCP is doing. As you all know, CCP is in Iceland, and right now is definitely summer break period in Iceland. Well, we're still having CSM meetings and everything is going on typically as scheduled. at this time, there's a lot of developers taking time off because they're it's nicer weather, the kids are not in school, etc., etc. So overall, a little bit slower time in terms of development, but I am happy that I can now take part in these CSM meetings again, not at 2 a.m. but actually at 6 p.m. a normal time, at my desk, and not in pajamas, etc., etc. So I'm very happy about being back in a quote-unquote normal time zone. That was very, very, very challenging. So playing this game from Australia was challenging in terms of time zone and all the interactions that I was used to with my CSM buddies, but also in-game buddies and court buddies and everyone in this community. So I was a little bit out of sync with everyone. But then also obviously with CSM, that was a massive challenge. And now I'm very happy to be back, back in all live discussions while they're happening. Because what I had been doing is I would wake up in the morning and I would see all the discussions that had happened on the CSM, in the Discord, etc. And then I had to basically react after everybody was already done with the discussions. And same with the CCP channels that we have. It's much easier when you can interact with the discussion immediately. But yeah, so that's my personal update. I'm going to be streaming normal again, all the normal shows on Saturdays, as always, and then probably going to sprinkle in some additional shows during the week here and there, and then also we're going to be going back to creating YouTube videos and etc. etc. Sovapid in chat says, I think the Plex price is more about there being no sales in the New Eden store versus the global market. Well, there was one in the last few weeks, and now they're including it they're including Plex in the packages. And overall, I mean, even the 50% off skill pack sales, while they don't have a direct impact on Plex, they do, because a lot of people are going to use this instead of Plex to acquire skill points if they want to. So I think there is a knock-on effect there. But yeah, if we do have a 2-for-1 extractor sale again, then absolutely that price is going to go up again, because the availability of Plex hasn't changed overnight, even with a global channel. I wonder if the low extractor prices are because too many skill farmers have been forced out already. It just took a while to see it. No, so I think if you look at the skill farming formula, it's actually not that bad. So it's obviously not taking advantage of any sales. It's terrible and you're losing money. But assuming that most of the large skill farmers have taken advantage of the 2-for-1 extractor sale, or the 50% off Omega plus MCT sale that goes on once a quarter, then that moves right into 1 billion plus, right? 1 billion plus profit per account that you skill farm on. So, assuming that is the case, skill farming is still profitable for anyone who's seriously doing it. And that means that skill injectors are being produced. From what I can see, they're being produced at even a higher rate than a year or two ago. And so it's not surprising that skill injector prices are going down. And especially if you're looking at the current sale that is going on. I mean, the current sale is 50% off master, the skill bundles. What are they called? The Prodigy bundle, graduate bundle, master bundle. Those bundles in the Eve store. they're 50% off right now, which turns them from being, you know, especially the bigger bundles, kind of shitty to actually pretty good. And, you know, being a good value across the board for almost all players. And especially for, you know, especially the higher bundles that are typically not very good value for lower skill point players, even for them, those make sense now. And if you bundle all of that together, you know, skill farms producing at a fairly high level, the new 50% off sale in the cash store, all of that together, it's no surprise that skill injector prices are dropping. Skill extractor prices, I mean, they were, I think we saw them dropping 2 weeks ago because they were included. I have to check on the sales, but it looks like they were included in some of the bundles that they had. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be a pretty good dip for skill injectors. What, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? That's probably like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So we'll I'll have to check what that means, but skill extractors, I mean, essentially they're still so cheap because they never properly recovered from that last 2-for-1 sale. I mean, they dropped from their regular 500 million plus to 400 plus. So yeah. So first of all, Boba Bretz, congrats on winning the raffle. I'm going to restart the raffle here. Just send me a DM on Twitch or Discord, and I'll send you your Omega code. Krakar says, I wonder if the low injector prices are because of... we already said that. Are you on Kick? I'm not on Kick. Do you think LSS will go up in price again? So right now, I don't actually see a lot of reasons why large scale injectors should go up again. Especially if Plex prices are on a downward trend, right? Because that would be one. If you're looking at the cost of creating skill injectors, you have to look at alternate products. So cerebral accelerators, for example. Anytime cerebral accelerators are coming into the game, then that puts pressure on skill injector prices, because you could substitute one for the other if you were patient. As the cerebral accelerators do the same thing as skill injectors, just over time. So if you're willing to wait over time, then you're getting a lot more skill points for your ISK. But you know, that's not something that people are willing to do often in gaming. So that's why instant gratification works so much. So you pay a premium for skill points through large skill injectors, but then also, if you're looking at the current sale that's going on, 50% off of those skill points, that's gonna put a downward pressure on skill point pricing and skill injectors specifically. And then also, I don't see the skill farming formula changing all that much, because, you know, in order for skill injectors to become more expensive regarding the skill farming formula, you would have to look at... My TV is wanting to turn itself off. You would have to have skill extractors becoming more expensive. And yes, I think they will. I think skill extractors will become more expensive because they are just way cheap right now and they're still recovering. But also, Plex would have to go up in price a lot. And I don't see that. In the current environment, I don't see Plex prices going up a lot again. So, no, I don't think skill injectors are going to significantly recover in the near future. I don't see a reason why they would. Flea Harvey Oswald. Hey, Drake, what's up, dude? My dentist was trying to offload skill extractor supply tooth for one, he called it. Oh, wow. Okay, all right. Are you having AI write your one-liners now? Brought to you by Perplexity. Wolf the engineer. So if you have LSI, then sell them now. I wouldn't blame you if you did. Yeah, I'm not holding any right now. Personally, I got tired of waiting for extractor prices to pick up, bought them as an investment, and just used them up myself for some extra ISK. As long as there's a big supply on extractors and their price is not picking up, there's no reason for LSI to increase the price. Yeah, for sure, Nikik. Crota, hey dude, what's up, man? It feels like CCP is trying to prevent real money items being used as a store of value. That's definitely the case, and they have said this publicly. So, there is... CCP have said that in interviews with me, actually, on this show, where they don't like Plex being used for speculation, and they don't like Plex being used as a store of value. They want Plex to be out there being used, which isn't a surprise, because for two reasons. One, you know, new players being able to actually get the Plex, it raises player satisfaction. But more importantly, they want it to be used up so that they can realize the revenue that's associated with it and not have it sit on their books as deferred revenue. And so both of those reasons are big reasons for CCP to want there to be a lot of Plex availability. And while they don't actively try to influence the Plex price, you know, obviously there are pros and cons from the CCP side for high and low Plex prices. So it's not that CCP sits there wishing that Plex prices go up or go down, you know, clear cut. If Plex is worth a lot of ISK, then there's an incentive for people to buy Plex if they buy Plex with real money because they're getting a lot of ISK for it. However, if Plex is cheaper, then people are going to be buying more of it in game and using it up and taking it out of the system. So both are, you know, there's a healthy medium for CCP, and I think we're pretty close to it. Silverpit, should there be a thing that is store of value? Seems like it is a good thing for the game. Doesn't have to be Plex. Well, I mean, there are other things. You know, what I do on large scale trading, if I invest into items, I look at the macro categories in the EVE Online economy, and I look at what is trading cheaply now historically. Now, while that sounds very, very obvious, what you can say is that something like basic minerals have been around since day one, right? And they haven't changed much. They have gone through their cycles, but also the entire EVE economy is balanced around these basic minerals costing or having their ISK price in a certain region, right? Not being completely out of whack. So if you're looking at historical mineral prices, you can't go all that wrong in buying the ones that are trading historically extremely cheap right now, because at some point there will be another cycle, and there will be significant changes to the EVE economy that are going to drive something one way or the other. And so I think if you look at things like Salvage, if you look at things like basic minerals, some of those markets are big enough for you to sink a lot of money into while you're waiting. But on the other hand, you know, I also think, for example, skill extractors, that, you know, CCP also don't want you to do that. But skill extractors can also be a very, very good store of value. You know, but considering their discouraging you from using those items, I would look at minerals. I would look at salvage, and you could possibly also look at something like structures, or capital ships. But right now, capital ships are not a good store of value. So right now, if you considering CCP have publicly said that they would like capitals to be cheaper, not specifically, but in general, than they are now, especially super capitals, I think that right now is not a good time to invest in capital ships as a long-term store of value. Nearkick says extractor's been so stagnant for quite some time, probably so much oversupply with CCP stores. Yes, that's definitely correct. Nearkick says if CCP wants to be a central bank, they did use the term in the dev blogs, didn't they? They can do something similar to what real-world central banks do. Fee for holding Plex would be pretty extreme, though. So, I mean, Nikic, it's definitely like something like that. Those economic theories is definitely something that we have been discussing with CCP. I can't talk about specifics, but like, of course, we talk about what role CCP should or wants to play in this economy. Are they a central bank? How would it be possible to tax massive wealth, for example? And there's different theories about it, and there's different people within CCP and within the CSM that have different opinions on massive store of wealth, etc., etc. I can tell you that, like from personal experience, in theory, and I say this as a rather wealthy person, in Eve, of course, in theory, it would be great for the dynamics in the game if you could somehow tax wealth more, because it would allow the catching up of newer people quicker or more easily. I think it would be good for the sandbox. But on the other hand, it's such an emotional topic to say, okay, if you've been working on this for 20 years, we're going to tax you in a way XYZ to take what you have. And that's also not very space capitalism like, right? Making the rich poor never helped anything. I massively disagree, Crota. That is only what rich people say, man. What would the rich do in IRL? Spread the wealth around secret accounts, same in Eve, I bet. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is not much of a. Yeah, I think we're talking. I think we're talking mostly about gemütlich. Very good. That's some nice. Nice emotes there. So I think I wouldn't talk about ISK, no. I would definitely be talking about Plex, because the question is, you want Plex to be out there, you want Plex to be circulating, and you want and you want it to be used, and you don't want it to be lost on some account that hasn't logged in 10 years, right? One, from a from an accounting perspective for CCP, which like most people don't care about, but on the other hand, there's, you know, by stupid IFRS accounting rules, which are very, very useful, but in this case, I think they just getting it wrong. CCP is not allowed to realize the revenue from Plex as long as it's not used up. So we saw it from the books. What was it? Oh, Crota, what was it? 10 million? Was it 10 million US dollars in unused Plex? Or was it 3 million? But it's millions of US dollars in unused Plex are on the books of CCP. And even within the game, you know, you would rather have that liquidity out there and not it be sitting on someone's account. Thoughts on where augmented Vespers are sitting? I have not looked at the market. I have seen them pop up in various in various of my dashboards, but I don't know what's going on with them. So we'll but I can put that on the list. We can discuss. All right. What are we going to start with today? That was a long introduction. Grown up, almost finished reading your blog. It's very long. It is. Yeah. Let's go and maybe let's start with the sale. Or actually, let's talk about FOMO because, like, and look. I have to go this. Because this is something that happened while I wasn't actually streaming. Can Doozy, congratulations on winning the raffle. I'm starting a new one right now. DM me on Twitch and Discord. There you go. So this was a dev blog that came out on the 25th of July. So it's been a couple of weeks, but it's, you know, it's very much along the lines of what I always talk about on the show, and that's why I wanted to at least quickly mention it, because it's very relevant, and it's interesting and very positive to me that CCP is continuing to bring out these dev blogs and iterating on their systems and monetization in this case, and actually talking about their motivation of why they're doing certain things. And that is such a positive change that has been going on since the beginning of the year that I want to say, you know, way to go, CCP. Hell yeah, keep doing it. I think it helps a lot. It helps also us as a CSM to convey these ideas to the player base, because then we know we can talk about these things when CCP brings out a dev blog along, because otherwise it's always awkward for us as a CSM to, you know, to comment on a change when we can't talk about the motivation behind it due to an NDA. So I think the reason they brought up this dev blog is that, as we've talked about on the show for many times, the Omega metagame, as this blog also calls it, has been fairly out of control. I mean, if you want to get the best deals on Omega time and Plex, it's not straightforward at all in EVE Online. You actually need websites like this to look up how much are which packs selling for. You need a section like this, all right? You need a section like this where you say, okay, this is how I want to value Plex. This is how I want to value Omega time. And, you know, based on all of that, you need essentially a tool or a spreadsheet to understand how much you're paying. And if you're understanding or not understanding the monetization policy that CCP was running over the last year, you could pay as little as $6 a month and up to $20 a month. So the spread is insane. And that led to a lot of FOMO. It led a lot to the gamification of the monetization. And so I think with this dev blog, they want to at least send out the message that they're moving away from that. Boba says, yeah, I bought 2 times 100 skill extractors in the last sale, intending to turn into Plex in order to convert more accounts to Omega using the next 12-month Omega and Unedited store on discount. In the last sale, all right, yeah. So, what this is saying is that I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'm going to paraphrase here. They're basically acknowledging that what I just said, that there's a metagame hole around Omega, and they're not liking it. They don't want there to be a lot of FOMO. They want to clean it up. And so here's what they're doing. So first of all, they're adding bonus items to 1 month Omega. So they're basically giving you more bang for the buck. And then they're changing the pricing on the Omega bundles. So what used to be 3 month and $47.98, annoyingly, is now 3 month and you get free 250 Plex. And they're saying they're testing this. Obviously, this has also has a massive impact on the Plex price, and that's why we've also been seeing a dropping Plex price, because now there's a, you know, where people were just getting their Omega time before, now they're getting pretty sizable Plex packages with it for the same price. And so everyone that is just subscribing the just normal way is now getting Plex in addition to Omega time, and that's going to have a downward pressure on the price. And they're not saying whether they're going to hold it up. Let me actually see if we go to Plex prices. No, that's under Omega probably, is it? It's under normal Omega. Here. Which one is it? Oh, starting at 3 months. Okay. It's so hard to read. What are you getting for it? Is it gone already? At the moment, as usual, the large Plex packs are king for euro per month pricing. But is this over already? Their trial period? I'm reading this right? The trial period is over. Ended today, I think. Okay, that was quick. Okay, yeah. I'm still in summertime. Thanks, Dave. So presumably they have gathered their data or whatever it is they're doing, and now they're going to evaluate on how to make these more attractive going forward. But you know, essentially it's the same price, and they're reducing this. This helps them be a little bit more compliant. There's some, you know, rules about transparent pricing, etc., etc. So this is a much cleaner way of doing it. And then they've done some cleanup, but this is a big change in their pricing. This is the MCT, so the multiple character training certificates pricing. They've dropped that by 50%. So what used to be $15 is now $10. And so it's actually going to be cheaper to train additional characters. Now, this doesn't have a real big effect on skill farming, because skill farmers don't spend real cash, right? So skill farmers are still going to be relying on that 50% off Omega plus MCT deal that happens at the Unedited store. But for quote-unquote normal players that are not skill farming, they are certainly going to be able to train secondary characters much cheaper now. Boba says the MCT change is good considering you can't log on 2 characters at once. It's only fair that it's cheaper to train than extra characters. Yeah, I always thought it was a little bit too expensive. I always thought it didn't really make a lot of sense before, which, you know, is good now that we have that in line. Train a secondary character and then transfer to a new account after 6 months. It saves money. It costs money though, right? Remember MCT was 485 Plex until 2022. Yeah, it's too expensive. It's way too much. And this was inspired by the popularity of the Omega Plus MCT sale. So what they're essentially doing with this change is they're moving the regular pricing a little bit closer to the sale. It's still never going to be the sale, and I'm assuming they're still going to run the sale. I don't think that they're going to stop it, but it is getting it more in line, and I think it's also, you know, for compliance reasons, a much better way of doing it. It was just simply too expensive before. $20 to transfer. Yeah, so that's significant. It sounds to me as if they're moving away from sales and what we shouldn't expect them at all. Well, you know. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, right now it's so much like, yes, that's what they're saying, and that's what this indicates. But I think this pricing needs to be very, very successful for them to make the same amount of money as they are on sales. Because I think right now the whole system is so reliant on these sales that I am sure that they're making more than half of their revenue on sales. I don't know if they do, but that would be my gut feeling. Boba Bretts changes the equation from I'm not going to buy MCT as they are so much more than when on sale to it's a little bit more, but at least I get my MCT now. Yeah, and I think if that's really the change that it the impact that it has, then this is a success because that's what they're trying to do. I mean, before you really weren't able to buy these outside of the sale. Like, you had to wait for the sale. You'd be incredibly stupid if you didn't. Or rich. Sorry, price insensitive. Nikik says CCP silently admitting to the price hike was a mistake. I would say that differently, Nikik. I would say that the strategy that they took was much more, we're going to hike the price and then we're going to have regular sales. That was a strategy that they took. They can't really walk back the increase if, like, the price increase. But what they're doing is they are giving you much deeper everyday discounts if you show loyalty and subscribe a little bit longer. And so, yes, I think they're admitting that the way they did it wasn't as great. Although if you look at their financials, it's really not bad. Like that price increase didn't hurt them. If anything, it helped them. Yeah. Although you don't have all variables, you don't know what would have happened. But overall, I mean, they're making more revenue than they were 2 years ago. But they are, I would say, smoothing it. And now it's it's still gonna be expensive in the beginning, but then it's gonna smooth out quicker. It's gonna drop prices quicker, and then not rely so much on sales. Which, well, again, I'll believe it when I see it. It's a big step. Crota says ultimately CCP's goal has to be two things: getting new players and increasing the lifetime value of a player. Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do here. The first priority is luring in a buyer, though. Yeah, and I mean, you know, they're not doing a terrible job at it. Let's be honest. If you look at player numbers and financials, the challenge that CCP has right now is that they're developing new titles that are not generating a lot of revenue yet. EVE Online is not CCP's problem right now, you know, and so if they would just be running CCP, they could run it, you know, pretty profitably. I think, you know, Crota and I have analyzed that in the past, so I think it's not that CCP is doing a lot of is doing a lot wrong in terms of monetization of EVE Online yet. Yeah, Daniel, that's right. It harms new players because they don't know all the tricks to get low sub prices. Well, I mean, Feral, that's what they're saying. That's what they've explained in this dev blog, because in this dev blog is exactly the topic that they are trying to move away from having to use a spreadsheet or a tool to actually find out what the cheapest Omega is. They're trying to make it cheaper across the board. And I think they're not there yet. Like, the MCT is a good start, but like, you know, this thing right here, I don't know if it's going to get people across the line because it's still very, very expensive. It's just like expensive Omega, yeah. But on the other hand, you know, if you look at inflation, inflation has increased prices rapidly across the world in the last 2 years. And so that has helped, hey Bamki, that has helped CCP in that, in a way, they increased prices and the rest of the world followed in no connection whatsoever, but they did kind of preempt this inflation. And so those $20 seemed insane 2 years ago. At current price level in the world, it's not as insane anymore as it seems. And I'm sure a lot of games that are relying on subscriptions are going to follow up, right? So I don't think it's insane anymore. Dave says, I don't think they can sell the "we're stopping good sales, so no need for FOMO" idea without rolling back the headline monthly price, but high monthly plus good sales is much better for the revenue. Sorry? So no need for FOMO idea without rolling back the headline monthly price, but high monthly... Dave, I'm sorry, but I don't... if you could rephrase that, that would be great. My brain is not catching that. The $20 price tag isn't really a great advert for people considering EVE either. No. It's not. But then on the other hand, what they can do, I mean, I think a lot of new players come in with the sense of, I can try as an alpha, and then if I decide I like the game as an alpha, then I can subscribe during a sale period or for 3 months or 6 months, and then it's, you know, it's a lot cheaper than $20. So I think people have been so like especially like, so going away from old, if you look at like old players or veteran players that are not as much into microtransactions as the newer generations is, like, for us, it's not a question anymore, right? It's more a question of, oh, okay, so, you know, you subscribe for long periods of time, or you have Plex store, or you have ways of making income. And so it's like, I think the veterans are not really the issue here. Grabbing the newer generation to play EVE Online, like, these microtransactions aren't that foreign to them. And so CCP is able to grab them much more through these sales, through little you know, little extra items, through little events, through all that stuff. Like, the new generation is just much more receptive to this, you know, microtransaction FOMO crap. And so I think that's why they've been able to drive revenue in the way they have, because yes, they moved in a direction that I hated, that a lot of veterans hated, a lot of old people hated. In that, you know, moving away from subscription, from subscription only, much more into a microtransaction direction. But that's where we are. $10 in 2000 is 20 euros now. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It is late. Hey, Gal? I don't know. You have to tell me how to pronounce it. I've watched a few videos, but I'm sure I missed a lot. I'm interested in Australian. Mind sharing why you aren't now in Australia? Goff. Okay, Goff. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I was in Australia for 7 months because I used to live in Australia, and my wife and I, we love Australia, and we lived in Australia before we had kids, and we always wanted to go back. And in our current point in our life, we weren't able to move back permanently to Australia, but we wanted to show our kids Australia. And so the next best thing we could do is take 7 months of work and go live in Australia for 7 months and enjoy life. And I lived in Brisbane, in the West End to be correct, and we went back to Brisbane because I absolutely love Brisbane. Oh yeah, man, I love it. Brisbane in summer is amazing. It's not, I mean, Brisbane in summer is much better than Melbourne in summer, man. Because in Melbourne, you're not prepared for the beach, and you get like 40 degrees. And in Brisbane, sometimes you get 40 degrees, but you know, it's you just spend a lot of time in the pool. It's all good. Or the beach. All right, but yeah. So overall, we'll believe it when we see it in terms of FOMO. Yeah, CCP, please follow through. Either way, it's good that you're communicating about it. So that's definitely a huge plus, and it's very interesting to read these. And so for those of you that are interested in a lot of these discussions that they talk about here, that is very akin to the discussions that the CSM and CCP have. So when you're talking about these dev blogs, a lot of this comes because the CSM gives CCP feedback from the community, and you know, we say, like, I had a for those of you that I've showed my CSM presentation from last year from the summit, and it literally had a page on stop doing the massive sales because you're destabilizing the economy. You know, now a year and a half later, we have this dev blog. So for us as the CSM, a lot of times it's a matter of communicating this for months or years and being consistent about or persistent about it, and seeing this all then explained in a dev blog and then seeing actions from these dev blogs is actually fantastic as a CSM. And I hope you can also appreciate that as a community, that, you know, a lot of these things they do take a lot of time, but a lot of times we're moving into the right direction. And I think especially in the last 2 years, where I've been able to see see these ideas and these pieces of feedback move through the system and being implemented into the game as a member of the CSM has been a very, very interesting experience and very rewarding overall. Tarth says prices are increasing generally, but in the gaming industry, as much as I think a lot of us hated the $60 AAA game for $15 MMO, just isn't as tenable as in 2005. No, you're right. Because all of these MMO have microtransactions into them. So a lot of them are going the, base game is free and then but spend money on microtransactions way. And like me as an old man, I hate this, yeah? Like, but then again, I am maining EverQuest Project 99, right? Which, by the way, I might start streaming here and there because I've tried Project 99, especially over the last 7 months that I was in Australia, and I'm really a huge fan of it. And if your first MMO was Ultima or EverQuest because you're old like me, then I think you really appreciate Project 99. It's really, really cool. And there you don't have a monthly fee, you don't have microtransactions, none of that, just good old grinding and old people playing video games. Crazy DNZ says, I've never been able to take advantage of the sale because of the exchange rate. Oh shit, are you in Brazil, man? Or what's the issue? I've heard Brazil is challenging with the exchange rate. New Zealand. Ah, shit, Crota, man. Sorry we weren't able to cover a lot of market stuff yet, Crota. But, I'll see you when you're back. When you're back in Europe. Sorry, England. I like how we say you're part of Europe, but you don't. It's, the UK is definitely Schrodinger's country because they're at the same time in Europe and not in the European Union. Could you link the dev blog? Yeah, of course. Here you go. The $60 price tag for games is like when IRL gas prices reach a certain point and suddenly everyone loses their shit. Well, gas prices don't matter in electric vehicles. All right, we're restarting the raffle. Yeah, it's interesting. I went from driving electric to driving diesel 4x4 in Australia on the beach, and then now going back to electric. So it's the definite Europe versus Australia experience. Not that you don't see electric vehicles over there, but in Queensland, it's definitely fun to drive a diesel on the beach. All right. That's point 1 on my agenda for that. And then point 2, just so I mention it. So let's quickly talk about the sale because we have a 50% off. Hold on, not these, but these. Yeah, let's quickly talk about the sale because we have 50% off of the skill bundles, right? The master bundle, the, what are they called? These right here. We have 50% off these skill training boost bundles. So this definitely is something to check out if you are spending real money on EVE this month. Because typically, if you look at these, and I'm going to pull up sentence page here, Quantum Anomaly. If you want to follow along, here's a link. There you go. this site doesn't it doesn't zoom very well, because if I zoom, then it just moves out, right? So I can't zoom in for you guys to read it, but I've put the link in there if you want to check it out and follow along. So essentially, what I have right here is I can put in character skill points. So let's say a character has 20 million skill points. That means that the character is getting 400,000 SP per large skill injector. That's what we use as a basis for valuing skill points, right? If we now go back to these bundles that I was just talking about that are 50% off right now, right here, the Master Bundle, Prodigy, Graduate, and so on, then you see these numbers are red, okay? The numbers are red because the value that you're getting as a young player with 20 million SP is bad, right? You're paying more for these in dollars, euros than you're getting in value, right? The Apprentice Bundle and the Novice Bundle are green because you're getting more than you're paying. Okay, this is the normal pricing, not the 50% off. In the normal pricing circumstances, if I change the 20 million to 100 million, right, then I'm only getting 150,000 SP per large skill injector. So that makes a big difference because I value skill points higher. So if I go back down to these, then all of a sudden all of these are green. And they're green at normal pricing. And right now they're 50% off. So if you're a 100 million SP player and you haven't bought the Apprentice Bundle, for example, the Apprentice Bundle is normally $8 or euros. It's now 4. And you're getting 40 euros in value because you're valuing skill points so much. And so this is a big sale for very experienced players that have not bought these bundles, because I'm pretty sure these bundles are only one time per account. At least they used to be, until they get changed slightly, and then you can buy them again. But right now, for example, if you're a 100 million player and you're only paying 20 something euros for the Master Bundle, you're getting 74 euros in value. And so obviously that is very, very, very good. And so the bottom line is that this sale right here, the 50% off, makes these skill training boost bundles, make them all worth it for all players. So you're getting more value for money. They're especially for high SP players, it makes some of these actually worth it. And for low SP players, let's see. For low SP players, these are always good value. Let's see. This is the wrong one right here. For low SP players, let me just make sure I get these right. Well, it's for low SP players. These are not worth it typically, but they're worth it now. And for high SP players, they're an even better deal than they usually are. So that's the bottom line on these. All right. So if you want, go to Quantum Anomaly, qsna.eu/eve, and you can look at this yourself. For some reason, Sentence hasn't updated these with the sale price. I guess he usually does, and so he will. And then you will see that these are actually really, really good. Good value. All right. So that's just a public service announcement. Lord X1 is saying, what's best to buy with these sales? 12 MCTs or equivalent in skill packages? I mean, I don't think you can compare the two. I think they're two very, very different things. MCTs, you're training for a few months on your account. I think you could break it down per SP, but even then, the cerebral accelerators are much quicker. So it's a little bit apples to oranges. But with, if you go, let's say, CCP store Omega MCT, are these updated? Yeah, these are updated. I think this is the page where you can compare those. There you go. But yeah, if you do spend money, always, all right? Always, if you do spend money and you want to support this channel, you can use the creator code Oz and we get a revenue share. You can also buy the same stuff that you're buying in the Eve store on Marquee Dragon and you get a 3% discount. So both of those are possible. CCP Jotun. What's up, dude? Are you in Iceland or are you on vacation? It was the expensive beer. You're in Iceland? All right. I hope to see you soon, man. Hope to see you soon. I'm going to be hopefully back 2 or 3 times this year to Iceland. Let's see how the CSM elections go. But I can theoretically do one more term on the CSM. But I'm definitely going to be there for FanFest. So because I'm not in Australia anymore, I'm back in Germany, and so I can now actually visit Iceland much easier now. Hell yeah, dude. I want a massive hug, dude. I want a Jotun-sized hug from you, man. Best part of my last CSM summit is a hug from CCP Jotun. All right. So that's the sale. We've talked about the FOMO. We talked about the sale. We do have patch notes from the 31st. So there were patch notes on the 31st that were almost entirely related to Pyrite. So, you know, if we take a quick step back, Pyrite prices. Let's see. We can actually look at this in game. I'm so glad to have all my equipment back here. It's so much easier to stream like this. If we look at Pyrite prices, so this ramp that you see in the back, let's call it the Metanox ramp. The Metanox ramp where the implementation of Metanox moon mining kept pushing the Pyrite price up because it wasn't being pumped out as a side product of Metanox moon mining, as opposed to the manual moon mining that was only available before. And Pyrite being a huge part of the EVE economy and in very high demand, no matter what you're building, it kept rising in price, actually tripling and then kind of stopping there. For the last 2 or 3 months, CCP has been introducing patches to increase the amount of Pyrite in the system. And while this has slowed down the increase, it hasn't really brought down the price. And so what CCP has done on, what is it, last week? About 10 days ago, is they introduced another patch which increased the Pyrite reprocessing amounts in Scordite and Mordunium by 10%. And they have increased the sites, the small Mordunium deposits and medium Mordunium deposits. They've increased their spawn radius to non-FW low-sec systems, and they will also appear in 0.5 systems supporting low-sec space. And so this is not a good news for you if you're holding Pyrite. If you're still speculating on it rising in price, then I would not. And this is already 10 days old and it hasn't dropped that much, but the message is clear that CCP is going to keep patching this until the prices go down. And so you should be very much listening to this if you're holding large amounts of Pyrite, because it will not stay like this. Prices need to come down and will come down. I mean, I'm curious as to what you think about this change, because clearly or not clearly, but your point of view is going to be different whether you're a miner, whether you're an industrialist, or whether you're running an alliance in null-sec, or whether you're mining in high-sec, because this change is a little bit, so the reprocessing change is different than just injecting more pyrite or more just increasing the number of sites, because if the price is dropping and you're getting the same amount of pyrite per hour, then you're getting less money. If you're getting more pyrite out of reprocessing and then the price drops, then your is per hour at least stays theoretically the same. And so the two tools that CCP has, increasing the amount of sites and increasing reprocessing amount, have slightly different impacts into the game. And so that's why I am interested in hearing your reactions to these patches in order to be able to relay that to CCP by way of the CSM. Banirtal says the more they drop the price, the less our 4 moons will be manually mined, creating less pyrite. Yeah. Yeah, I think in parallel they did in the last patch increase the cost of Metanox mining, or since March they've increased several times the cost to run Metanox. So I think it's just a little slow to be actually accepted or implemented by alliances into the game. We do a lot of mining. There needs to be a less focus on supply and more the actual gameplay experience, especially in null. I mean, that's a very interesting point, Lucky, because the March patch was the patch that introduced new anomalies, larger rocks, etc. And we did see a clear increase in mining after that. And we didn't see a massive drop in MPI, but we saw the beginning of a drop in MPI. But clearly it's more of those changes that you're looking for, rather than playing with the prices and just lowering mineral prices in order to lower ship prices in the end. Steven says, stop mining R4s already, as no longer commercial compared to other high-sec activities. Yeah. Congratulations, Uran Boris. You won the raffle, and I'll restart the raffle right here. Yeah, I don't mean just throughput. I mean more talking about the dynamics between miners and Sino alts. Yeah, and I think CCP is working on several things that they've hinted at. Right? I mean, we were talking about the what was it that they mentioned? What did they call it? I talked about Turatati about in the last interview I did with him. These escalations, these mining escalations, what do they call it? Golden? Oh, God. I'm totally blanking on what he had a dev blog on it too. Call it, was it Meteors? Jackpot? Yeah, something like that. Gold Rush. Thank you, Hamlin. Gold Rush. Yeah. No, he called it the concept of a gold rush, where you hit a jackpot in not limited to mining, but especially in mining. You hit a jackpot, and it creates an escalation, and rewards you highly, but it's not so linear, but more a jackpot moment where you feel like there's more interaction and a little bit more luck and a little bit more variation involved. And I think that is a very good concept to follow, because I think we need to. ETH is always going to be a game of passive / more AFK gameplay, but we also have to have, I think, in each area of the game, it's very helpful to have a reward for very active gameplay, because in the end, the game world lives from activity, and there's got to be rewards for active gameplay versus passive gameplay. And so I think that is something that is very interesting for CCP to follow. What other options than reducing mineral prices would CCP have to reduce the cost of capitals? Reducing the cost of reactions, lower demand fuel blocks, lower price for ice? No, they could just reduce the amount of minerals in the blueprints, right? I mean, that would be the most straightforward way of reducing the cost for capitals. I mean, if you look at currently, like if you look at an avatar blueprint. See, can we do that? Yeah. Let's go to like 1DQ and calculate all reactions and look at what goes into an avatar. You can see right now, and this is a Titan blueprint. A Titan right now costs about 170 billion to build at forge prices, right? In nullsec. 30 billion of that is Pyrite. And 25 billion of that is Isogen. 21 billion is Maxilon. And I have ME 0, yeah. We can go to ME 10, 158. That's not going to change anything. So 158, okay? But that's not going to change the material input. So 26, 23, 19. So still a massive part of it. And this is only because right now Pyrite, Isogen, and Maxilon are the three that are historically expensive. Right? So this is straight up still a this is straight up the Maxilon, Isogen, Pyrite, an effect from still scarcity 4 or 5 years ago. So this the prices never really came down after that, and now well, I should differentiate. Isogen became massively expensive. Pyrite is a Metanox effect, and Maxilon has been kind of in between, but it's also a knock-on effect of Metanox. This could shave off, like if these return to pre-Metanox pricing or to historically average pricing, I mean, this alone could shave off about, I don't know, a quarter of the price of an avatar. But you know, not to say that it needs to, but in my personal opinion, you know, there's a little bit more room for these prices to come down, or for there to be more viable, larger ships, because, you know, we're just not seeing a lot of them out there right now. Is this fabled AFK mining in Null a reality in Imperium, Mutako, and Horde space? It is an initiative space. Kind of sucks that experience dictates the mining experience for the rest of EVE. I guess that's great for the big blocks. They should bring out the Rorquals. Okay, but what would you rate as fair price for a Dread when everyone seems to say they're too expensive? Dreads are not expensive. Dreads are not too expensive right now. I think Dreads are perfectly fine priced. And they've come down in price a lot. Like, you know, 2.5 billion price, totally fine. In my opinion. But also Pyrite. Also Pyrite governing, you know, you could shave off another 10% maybe. So I should consider to buy 10 of them as a midterm investment? No, I think no, because I don't think Dread prices are going to rise. I think that where they're at is where CCP wants them, and everybody's happy about them being so cheap. So I don't think they're going to rise in price again. You're not going to get that kind of markup, Katu. I don't think so. If you're a large-scale producer, then your margins are going to be much lower. You can, I think, look at 10 or 20% and not 40%. Someone will definitely eat into that, as Goff is saying. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Plex isn't that great of an inflation Plex and a hedge right now either. Not great at all. You might want to change the system because 1EQ is now at the lowest possible manufacturing system cost index. Well, I mean, you know, you just look at the material costs. Material costs are 2.2. That's what doesn't change from the system. Then you can add whatever system you want. But material cost is what matters. But yeah. So the latest patch squarely hitting at Pyrite prices. They are starting to, you know, come down a little bit right here, but you know, nothing massive really. And then finally, let's move over to this, and that is my market dashboard for this week. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. For those of you that don't usually watch my show, this is the dashboard that I use to analyze the markets typically, and this is also what I use to guide my day-to-day trading or view on the market when I'm on the CSM. And what I do here is I look at each item category and I look at what the volume is this week. So how much is being traded, what the price is, what the trend is, what the price is compared to 52-week average, what the availability is, so how much is actually available for sale in the forge, and how much is traded on a weekly basis. So this is my solution to EVE markets in one dashboard, right? If you want something similar, then you can go here, the Oz.space. And so this is a dashboard that looks at what's trending up this week, what's trending down, and you can select your own hurdles here. So in terms of minimum daily trade volume or minimum daily orders, and then you can do your own analysis on what's rising in price, what's dropping in price, what's in short supply, what is oversupplied, what's underpriced, what is the highest trade volume, absolute, in absolute terms, and what's the highest trade volume compared to the yearly average. So what's hot right now, and so this is my way of trying to give you the same tools that I use to analyze the economy. So going back here, if we look at what's been going on this past week, we look at moon materials here. They are the R4 and R8 materials. Yeah, the MER should come out next week. The R4 and R8 materials are, kind of slotting in at that 50% price index level. So they've been crashing so much in price lately that now they're just, settling in at that level, and they didn't change much this week. The R16 and R32 are at about 52-week average, but rising in price. Overall, if you're looking at moon materials and what they mean to the EVE economy, they specifically govern tier 2 production and tier 2 pricing overall. So a lot of tier 2 ships and modules rely on these moon materials as the main input in the EVE economy. And so as a whole, what Metanox did was drop R4 and R8's moon material prices. So overall, it's had a negative impact on tier 2 pricing, but nothing crazy, because if you look at the overall impact of these R4 to R64 moon materials, then you can see, especially on the trade volume as well, the much bigger impact on pricing comes from R16 to R64 moons, and those haven't changed that much. They initially went up, now they've come back down a little bit, but overall, this is where pricing has settled in. R4, and there are certain things that are relying more on R4 and R8 moon materials, and so those certainly have come down in price, but overall, this is the new reality with Metanox moon mining. If we look at minerals, so basic minerals overall, they are trading at 87. That means that they're trading 13% below 52-week average. And the reason for that is being the mineral price index that tracks the mineral prices overall was at an all-time high up until, March. And since that massive March patch that included a lot of new mining content sites, refining changes, etc., that has slowly come down. So especially the ones that were targeted, Morphite. Look at in-game, for example. Morphite. The past March patch slide was massive, and Morphite is a big. If you look at the volume traded, it's not in there, but it's a big basic material. Isogen since March has actually increased in price. After an increase, it's come back down, but that has actually increased. Megasite since March has come down slightly, especially in the last week. Maxilon took a big dive after March, even before then. Noxium came down after April in price. Pyrite is the one bucking the trend, as discussed earlier. And then we have Tritanium that also, since March, has dropped quite significantly and is very, very cheap right now. Zydrine is another one that has come down in price. So overall, mineral prices are coming down, albeit more slowly than I think CCP would have liked, after the March patch. But overall, everything, I would say, under control. And especially if Pyrite now also follows suit, then overall the MPI is moving in the right direction. Let's see what else is going on here. Salvage prices coming down rapidly. I mean, these were quite high over the last few weeks. I think we talked to Sir Mix-a-Lot, one of the largest single industrialist with a big impact on the market, I would say. If you want to understand what he does, there's an interview. It's called 7.5 trillion in monthly revenues on YouTube. But mineral salvage prices coming down significantly, which is going to have a big impact on rig prices, structure rigs, and ship hull rigs. But yeah, there has been buffs to exploration, so certainly people are doing more exploration because they're getting some of the more lucrative capital ship components out of exploration sites. So, those are dropping in price as well. But I guess more exploration is also having a big impact on salvage prices, and possibly also we did see a big spike in demand from the large alliance moves. So earlier, a month or two ago, we saw two or three large alliances move across different types of regions in EVO 9, and that means a lot of taking down structures, putting up structures, unplugging rigs, replugging rigs, and so that definitely put a lot of demand on it. But now what we're seeing now is quite a massive drop in salvage prices across the board. We can have a look later on which ones exactly, or we can actually do that now. We go here. Oh, it's already on salvage. What is it? I thought most of the large alliance moves was because they were able to save resources by unplugging things. Was there a what do you call it? A grace period for unplugging? Is that what it was? Let's look that up. When goons moved? But that was in October. That was last year in October. Yeah. But not now. I'm trying to remember how that was. Nothing since then? Okay. Okay, there was one in October. Yeah. That was... Oh, okay. No, that was because of the transition of the Equinox sovereign subsystem. That was pre-November. So that's why they moved. But not... that is not the case now. And so now we actually don't. But if you look at which of these dropped... Oh, this is almost across the board. Now, there are a few of these that increased in price, but if you look at the large ones that dropped, contaminated nanite compound, contaminated Lorentz fluid, tangled power conduit, they're all dropping in price quite significantly. But yeah, that means we have more exploration, more returning to regular content as well. Less moving, more crabbing, more exploration. So I think overall it's quite a new state for the economy. Yeah, other than that, what else we got? Nothing to write home. So again, these right here, there was a patch that introduced capital component drops to exploration sites that were in these categories. And that's why, especially on the advanced protective technology, we're now seeing these prices drop. Wasn't there a spike in Astra hoses this week? Possibly. I don't see it in here, but there was one you guys asked about earlier. Let's see. Are excavator prices going nuts? Nope, not either. Was it the Vespa? Yeah. Let me look at my dashboard to see if there was any augmented drones going nuts. Not this week. Augmented Vespas, here we go. No, they're underpriced. Augmented Vespas are underpriced right now. So the only thing that I can imagine on Elite Drone AI for its jump is that possibly goons and other alliances are settling into new space and they're starting to crab and they're starting to possibly acquire excavator mining drones or building excavator mining drones. And if you want to build them, you need a lot of Elite Drone AI. And possibly there's not enough in their market yet to build excavator drones and they have to resupply. Possibly. One theory. Or geckos. Oh, that's right. Geckos as well. Let's see. There. No. More exploration in drone lands, which means more chance of getting augmented drone VPCs. I don't know if that would explain that. But even geckos are getting more expensive, more cheap. I think possibly it's because if you look at where most of the Elite Drone AI go, it's pretty directly correlated with excavator drones, because excavator drones require so much Elite Drone AI that it's such a driving factor of the demand, you know. All right. Let's go back here. And then let's see, other primary goods. Ship prices haven't changed all that much. Structures should be structures are a little bit expensive right now because of all the moves, but you know, overall they're doing fine. We move over to the Oz report dashboard. Make this a little smaller so you can actually see it. There. The torrent up 23%. People moving some stuff. This is a hauling ship. Athenors up 18%. That's interesting. But other than that, yeah, we're still seeing the nanoscale filter plate and nano regulation gate dropping quite massively. So these are now found in exploration sites, right? I think those were two of the ones that if you go to the patch notes, let's see. Yeah. So their volume has been lowered. Goon Moons just got assigned. Reason for Athenors. Okay. Yeah. So this was the mid-July patch. The volume of nanoscale filter plates was reduced from 5 cubic meters to 1 cubic meters, and so now they're much more lucrative to take, because it's if you're exploring, it's much more value per cubic meter, which is also a dimension that is important for explorers because they typically don't have huge cargo holds. So while in the past they might have just been left, now they are there. And this is one piece of feedback that I specifically passed on from you guys to CCP. Several of you guys contacted me and said that exploration, the capital components that come from exploration sites, a lot of times they're too large to be worth it, even if their price is very, very high. And that's specific feedback that I gave to CCP, and they almost immediately implemented it. Immediately in this case means a few months later. But that, yeah, it's a good sign. Yeah, but this overall, the chance for players to receive capital control items has been increased in lesser and standard covert research sites, the ghost sites. And the volume of the counter subversion sensor array has been lowered also. So those two have been lowered. In terms of pricing, we see them there as well. They've all dropped. So they're all they are yeah. So they're all dropping more, and they're smaller. And so that's why we're seeing them trending down in price this week, and you can expect them. I don't know when they'll hit bottom, but you know, certainly a lot of people were also holding on to them for strategic reasons or maybe investment reasons. And so you're seeing a lot of them hit the market more. Let's check them out on the market graph. Yeah, so you see it quite clearly. This was when the patch hit, and so you know it's slowing down, but still, it's trading in higher volume, and it should bring the price of capital ships down. In 2 months, the Moon Goo will start dipping. Even more if it's worth it to mine, man. Have you guys discussed Morphite already? Yeah. Yes, we have. But you know, happy to go into it in more detail. So Morphite is interesting because Morphite was targeted specifically in the March patch, and since then it's dropped massively, even below the previous equilibrium, and then it started dropping even more, even though CCP hit the brakes in form of a patch that actually reduced the amount of Morphite that is being gathered in what I think the tier 3 sites in Null, right? So that hasn't been very successful. I think it's still a very, very lucrative mine in terms of ISK per hour or ISK per M3. And so, yeah, this is not the intention that CCP had there is not working in terms of the last patch. I wouldn't hold on to it. Yeah, they didn't address Morphite specifically again, but they only addressed Pyrite. That's right. But I wouldn't hold my breath here. I would not I do think that in the grand scheme of things, Morphyte is still a good investment right now. So I think Morphyte is one of those items where, in the end, if CCP already tells you they think it's too cheap, then why the hell wouldn't you buy it, right? I mean, I think I mentioned that in my last Oz report 3 weeks ago, but I mean, like, what else do you need as an indicator that this might rise in price? Other than CCP saying, look, we patched it. We're trying to fix it. We think it's too cheap. So, you know, maybe you guys help CCP out and prop up the price a little bit. And by me saying that, I'm now messing up CCP's data probably, because some of you are now going to actually push the price up. But, you know, if I wasn't on the CSM, I might buy Morphyte right now. Actually, if I wasn't on the CSM, I would definitely buy Morphyte right now. The only reason for Morphyte to jump is CCP? Well, I mean, the reason for everything is CCP. All right. We are going to, what I'm going to do as the last thing today, before the 2-hour mark, is I'm going to record an Oz report. And for those of you that don't know, the Oz report, let me see here. Let me actually turn the music off here. Concentrate. The Oz report is where I do a quick run through in the market. I record this for the podcast and for YouTube. And I record it basically for people that don't have time to watch the whole stream, and or that, you know, prefer listening to it on the podcast. My podcast is also called the Oz Report, and that way they can get a 10-minute update on the ETH market while they're driving to work, or you know, taking their kids out in the stroller or whatever it is that you guys do. So it seems like the incorrect is saying it seems like the current drop in Morphyte was due to people giving up and dumping it, so it might go a little up if some people stop mining it. But yeah, CCP has to nerf Morphyte anoms for price to go up. Yeah, it does feel like they gave up a little bit. You should put the whole show on YouTube as well. Yeah, people have been saying that. I'll try it. I haven't done this in the past, but I don't want to spam content on YouTube, right? Because it's available on the Twitch replay if people want to watch it, but apparently people don't. Yeah, I'll try it. I see how it performs. Okay. So, we're going to go here. We're going to go there, and we're going to go there. And we're going to go here. I was worried that something happened to Oz. Haven't seen reports on YouTube for a while. Yeah, this was just because I moved from Australia to Germany. Moved back to my home, and now I got myself set up again, and now I can stream again from my home studio. All right. More interviews with trillionaires. Okay, I can do that. Hey, if you're a trillionaire, hit me up on Discord, and we'll do an interview. All right. If you're a trillionaire, you want to talk to me, let's do it. It's a good idea, Koku. Koku. IRL okay? Yeah, IRL okay. If you're a trillionaire IRL, I highly doubt you want to talk to me. All right. Trillion and Isco. Oh, it doesn't matter. In both is fine. Trillion and assets is fine, Bernard. Okay, we're actually going to start here. All right, this is the Oz report, and we're back. I'm back in Germany. It's August 9th, and we're going to talk about the ETH markets for 10 minutes. before I do that, I want to quickly do a public service announcement, and that is the skill training boost bundles in the Eve store are currently 50% off. And that means that these bundles that are typically only foolproof for 80 million skill point plus characters. So for them, it's always a great value. But right now at 50% off, they're a massive value for almost anyone, especially the lower ones, these apprentice bundle and the novice bundle. They're really, 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 really good value. And at 50% off, you really can't go wrong. These are one-time only purchase per account. If you do buy them, please use the creator code Oz in the Eve store, and I get a revenue share to support the channel. But so if you're in the market right now to buy skill points specifically, then check out the boost bundles in the Eve store because they're 50% off. That is a pretty good value. Now, let's look at the market. So overall, let's start with Plex and Plex adjacent items, and we can actually do that in here. So Plex, you all know that Plex is now in a global market, so we don't really have any history here in the client. But since it was implemented in the middle of July, we've seen a pretty consistent drop in Plex prices. Yes, we've also seen pretty consistent sales going on. With a 20% off sale in the NES, we had a sale in the Eve store. We also had the regular Omega bundles now, including Plex until yesterday, I think. So overall, there's been a lot of effort by CCP to drop the Plex price, not only through the global Plex market, but also through sales. And now what we're seeing is a Plex price that is unlike anything we've seen in a long time, because we have a sale price of 5.7 million and we have a buy price of 5.4 million on the global market. So that is very, very low. So if you're in the market for Plex, rejoice. Let's see what the next New Eden store sale does to this, because we haven't seen a massive sale since the introduction of the global Plex market. But we have seen a dev blog come out that basically said that CCP wants to do less FOMO and less gamification around the monetization of Eve. So let's see if they can actually deliver on that. And that would also mean, no more massive sales on the New Eden store that make you pull out spreadsheets to take the best advantage of Omega and Plex pricing and extractor pricing, etc. So overall, Plex is trending downwards, but we'll see how it holds up if there's a new massive New Eden store sale coming, which used to send the Plex price in a spiral. But so far, so good. Cheaper Plex. Cheaper Plex also means cheaper skill injectors. So cheaper Plex means that skill farms can run their skill farms much, much cheaper, and especially in combination with the skill extractor prices that still haven't recovered from the massive 2-for-1 sale in March or in April. This means that overall it's much, much cheaper now to produce large skill injectors. Combine that with a 50% off the skill bundles right now on the real cash store. There's really not much hope for large skill injectors to come up if you're still holding out for that. For everyone else using skill injectors, I guess this is good news. Skill injectors or skill points haven't been this cheap in a very, very long time. And it seems that a lot of the things that CCP has been implementing has been driving Plex prices down and skill injector prices down. And so overall, it's cheaper on average for players to play EVE Online and for players to acquire skill points. Now, let's move back to my market dashboard. So that's Plex and Plex adjacent items. What we're seeing overall is we're seeing a pretty significant drop in salvage material prices. We were talking about that on stream earlier. So we see a 10% drop in tier 1 salvage materials and almost a 10% drop in tier 2 salvage materials as well. Part of that is because the moves that we were talking about 3 weeks ago in my last Oz report, the large alliances moving, this is now done. They're much more moving into crabbing again. They're also not having to replace structure rigs on a massive scale. So certainly, more salvage entering the system, less demand in the system, and so overall salvage prices are very, very, very cheap if you're looking at it overall. Certainly, also we saw a pretty big buff to exploration sites in July. So more people doing exploration is probably a safe bet, and also that is going to drive salvage prices down, or at least not up. It's going to be a good or a boost on the supply side, certainly. Speaking of boost to exploration, we're seeing the molecular forging tools down another 14% and advanced protective technology down 17%. Those are that's the exploration loot for ship hulls, especially capital ships. They introduced that in that latest patch. It's been a few weeks now, but since I haven't streamed a lot since then, we haven't covered this in detail. But if you're looking at the patch from July 17th, we're seeing ghost sites have been reduced in difficulty. They're now dropping more of these capital components that I was talking about, and also these components now have a lower volume, and that means that they're more lucrative to actually loot and take, and you can take more of them. And so there are a lot of roadblocks were removed. The last one specifically because I collected your feedback from the community and gave it to the CSM, and I think immediately they turned around and actually implemented it in the next exploration patch. So I'm very happy that these changes have been made. And having said that, that's had a massive impact on the pricing here. So you're seeing that advanced protective technology and molecular forging tools that weeks and months ago, these were still 50-60% higher, have been dropping. And you're seeing that actually on the trending down section of my Oz report dashboard this week. You're seeing nanoscale filter plates down 28%, nano regulation gates down 26%. You're seeing counter subversion sensor arrays down 23%. These are all coming from these ghost sites, and they're being looted on a much higher scale, that they're more easily transported, and so more supply is hitting the market, and that means they're not acting as much as a bottleneck anymore in the production of dreads and other capital ships. And so this is a very, very positive move that I was pushing for, and that I think is going to be a very positive push for not only for the economy, but for industrialists building these ships and alliances using these ships and individuals using these ships in battle, and making them a little bit more affordable to build and replace. So overall, I think a good good week, or a good few weeks for EVE Online. Somebody in chat is asking about the liquidity of these. So if you look at the liquidity here, molecular forging tools, we have 3.8 trade days available of molecular forging tools, and we have 2.6 trade days available. So still not a ton of them available in the market, but they're trading at 20 to 30% above average. So there's a lot more hitting the market and trading, and these are slowly their availability is increasing, but these are nowhere near abundant right now. They're still being bought as quickly as they're being supplied into the market, and which is a very, very good sign. That means that this was a very much needed change in the economy from my point of view. Right. So we talked about Plex. We've talked about advanced protective technology. One other thing I want to mention here, we talked about this earlier as well. Somebody mentioned in chat, Athenor is up 20%. That is because, as I mentioned, several alliances have moved. They're going back. Especially goons have actually arrived now. They're going into crabbing mode. They're going into moon mining. They're buying these Athenor. So certainly there's more of a demand on these structures. driving their price up. If we're looking on the short supply side, so what is not available in the market, with what has the fewest trade days available, we're seeing here the mid-grade Crystal Omegas leading the pack with just 0.2 trade days available, but especially the low-key here. The low-key, 0.3 trade days available, very much in high demand. 57% of available low-keys were bought out this week. So this is a massive drop in supply there. If you're able to supply the market in low-keys, then you're definitely needed right now. Cryoprotected solutions down 75%. That means people are building implants, especially these are used for implants. And raging gamma filaments are the popular filament in abyssal space currently right now, because 75% of them were bought out as well. If we're looking at overall what's underpriced, and underpriced here doesn't mean that they are per se underpriced. It just means that the price that the item is currently trading at is most below monthly average. And the reason for most of these are patches. So if you look at the metamolecular combiner, for example, these have dropped 70% in price. But that's because they're molecular forging tools and they've been introduced into the exploration sites at a much higher level, and that's why they're crashing in price. This is not only because people are dropping or people are I lost my train of thought because I was reading chat instead of thinking. That's why I usually don't interact with chat during the Oz report. But so 70% down. People are looting crazy amounts of these. And oh yeah, here we go. I've got my thought back. People are looting these a lot from exploration sites, but also people that were holding onto these for strategic reasons or for investment reasons, they are dropping these now also onto the market because they're realizing that the supply is rising and their investment is dropping in price. So this is a double whammy of speculators dropping their items onto the market, but also the economy itself supplying more materials. All right, I think that's where we leave it this week. So we're back in Germany. We're going to be, summer break is over. We're going to be releasing Oz reports every week again, and live streams again every Saturday as usual. So feel free to join us on the live stream, or I'll see you next week on the Oz report. We'll go back to the regular stream. Bye-bye. All right. You can see the exact daily volume of every region and thus the galaxy. Yes, we can. What are you referring to, Higher Brand? Sorry. Athenors? Hi, Credit. Are you raising your hand or are you saying hi? Oh, okay. Sorry. I see what you mean. Cool. All right. We're at 2 hours and 10. I'm actually going to be wrapping up. Just saying hi. Hi, Credit. So, I'm back in Germany. Very happy that I can now stream regularly again. Look out for content on YouTube. If you're taking advantage of these sales, please use the creator code Oz. You can either use it in the Eve store or you can use it on the Marquee Dragon store and get another 3% off your Eve packs. If you want to support what I do on the podcast or on YouTube, then you can also become a patron at patreon.com/OzEve. Thank you to those people that are already tycoons. Thank you to Clunky, the One Valentine, Silver, Crota, Mr. Hanuman, Elias Nix, and 9G Aggressor. Thank you guys very much for your support. And thank you for almost, okay, we're almost at 10,000 YouTube. Let me check here. Hold on. I am at 9,900 and something YouTube subscribers. Okay. Where's my relic at? Here. I have a new one. I bought a new one. Look, this is the new one. It's badass. But they lost again today, twice. I'm at 9,900 something YouTube subscribers. Okay. Please help me get to 10,000. Go to youtube.com/AussieEve. You see the link in chat right there. And you can help me get to 10,000. All right. Click subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And then you get notified when I release new YouTube videos. And I just really like to hit that 10,000 number. I would massively appreciate it. Cool. Thank you, Chuckles. I appreciate it. All right. So we are going to just rate someone, right? Oh yeah, we have a Discord. You guys know we have a Discord with about 7,000 other Eve nerds. Go join that. The link is up there as well in the bot. All right. Cool. Who do we want to rate? Do we rate the meta show? Do you guys want to rate the meta show? Or is there somebody else you'd rather rate than the meta show? We're gonna go over there, right? We'll go do that. And then I'll see you guys next week. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.